Hey there. Welcome to the show. Today we're going to look at how to teach 12 Angry Men. Welcome, Ruben.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Good. It's funny. I feel like I'm interviewing you. No. Hey, Ruben. You know what? Why are you teaching 12 Angry Men at this time to your class?
I've never taught it before. In fact, out of the blue, my TA just brought it up because we're just in this experimental mode. What's going to engage? That's the only criteria is let's have fun, everybody. Let's read something. And she threw out 12 Angry Men, and I go, I like that. I like 12 Angry Men. Let's do it. And the response by the students have been very positive. Students who are typically quiet are speaking. And we've been analyzing that, my TA and myself. And it's just a heck of a good story.
Right. I think it's like I know the play was first, I think, done like in the 1950s or 60s, right, on TV or something like that. So great. Hey, what are the objectives and standards to your lesson though, dude? I mean, how's that work?
Well, I sent you the objectives and standards, if you could bring that up, yeah, and I'll show you what the thought process behind it is. Okay. So there's the title of the lesson. The standard is basically making use of digital media in presentations through audio, video, infographics. And so I have given them a choice of either doing Google Slides or YouTube or podcast. But I encourage them to do slides or YouTube because it's such a visual idea behind this. And you'll see what I mean. So under the objectives, you see that? Typically, we would have students will define jury. Students will define bias. But I turn them into questions because number 2, what is bias? That's a question for further inquiry. It's not just a straight definition, see, as the first one is what is a jury? Straight definition, you find out the answer and you move on. But no, bias can manifest itself in many forms in different situations. So this is something that can lead to further inquiry, such as even the 5th question, how do you deliver effective presentations through digital media? Sure. And so I like turning the objectives into questions. And then you have the motive. Yeah, do you have a question? Sorry.
No, I was saying, like, even with the what is bias, that does seem a little more difficult to explain. Maybe a couple examples would probably be the way to go. But yeah, but the hung jury, that would just be
straight ahead.
Straight ahead, yeah.
Right. And so part of the purpose of understanding these terms is that they will be able to eventually analyze real life notable court cases in an intelligent way. But the thing about bias, even that's fine, giving a few examples, but it's still something I want them to be wrestling with long after the lesson's over. So that's the purpose of questions. And then, as I mentioned, they will be motivated by analyzing real life court decisions. And then, so this prompt section is something that they can just look at. And as they present, they can answer each question, you see, as opposed to just setting them off and saying, okay, talk about a court case, compare it to 12 Angry Men. Some students need more than that. And so I've given them the choice of answering these specific prompts. The first 2 questions need to be answered, though. I want them to talk about what in 12 Angry Men makes it compelling, but what do they learn about the judicial system through this story? And then there's other prompts that they can answer through slides, through a YouTube discussion, and so forth. And then these accommodations at the bottom, students will be allowed to receive extended time to receive feedback. That's for students with IEPs. Sometimes they need that extra time. So yeah, those are the standards and objectives.
Right. Let me go ahead and close that down then. Great. And so, like, after what now, do you give them an example of a court case, or are they the ones that come up with a court case that's happening right now?
Yes, I left that out of that standard sheet, but I give
Sure.
them an example. I give them about 6 or 7 examples of cases: the Robert Blake case, the O.J. Simpson, the Menendez brothers, cases like that. And I tell them they can choose one of those cases. I think even the McMartin preschool case I offered, and they can go ahead and research those or pick another one that's not on my list. It's up to them. And they, kind of with the new idea behind the judicial system, they can analyze this case and answer the question, did the jury get it right?
Right. Now, looking at the title of 12 Angry Men, and I've seen the play and so forth, and do the kids ever ask you like, hey, where's the women? Or where do they ask you those questions, or do you talk about the time and all that?
They didn't ask me, but I beat them to it. I said, this idea of 12 men is a little dated. You wouldn't see a jury of 12 men. And I talk about why prosecutors and defendants pick their juries. It's based on the least possibility of bias. And so you probably won't get 12 men on any case because of that. It feels very biased. And we discuss it, and we talk about it. Even in 12 Angry Men, even within the jury, there is bias of each other. You come into the room with your own set of ideas and life experiences, and you need to put them down and just look at the evidence and rule that way. And I tell them that it's one of the hardest things in life to do.
Now, regarding like notable cases, is there one that stands out to you that you go, wow, this is a kind of a cool case? I'd like to, share this one with them.
Actually, what I did was I told them that I was going to do this assignment. That I assigned myself my assignment.
Really?
And I'm really glad I did it, because I saw one little kink in the armor that I have to fix.
Okay.
And on Monday, when I go back, I'm gonna make sure they understand something. But it's small, and so It's very helpful to do the assignment that you assign. And so I'll demonstrate for you if you'd like. And
yeah, do that, because I'm curious. While you're sharing, I'm thinking this is good for a social studies class too. I do the judicial system, judicial branch, and 12 Angry Men would work well. But I'm sorry, I was trying to make a connection to my subject as well.
No problem. So if you notice that I see the prompt sheet?
Yes.
Prompts.
So
what we could do is we will, instead of me just talking and giving you the answers to the prompts, you can ask me. We'll turn it into a discussion, and I'll answer the questions.
I'll go and ask the first one on your prompts. Why is the play 12 Angry Men compelling, Ruben?
Okay, so I'm speaking from my perspective.
Sure.
And I've seen this before, but I had forgotten this version in the late 90s sometime when it came out. It was excellent seeing it again. And the performances are terrific. You're talking about Hume Cronyn. You're talking about, Jack Lemmon, Edward James Olmos, and my favorite actor, James Gandolfini.
Wow.
And it is so pleasurable to watch these guys at work. And there's a scene between Gandolfini and Jack Lemmon. It's just, I just geeked out, because Gandolfini is so powerful. God rest his soul. Yeah. And Jack Lemmon really infuses it with a lot of empathy and just care, because he's the character, he's the juror that votes not guilty and attempts to persuade them all. And what a performance. So it's for me, who enjoys movies, it's great. Another reason why I liked it, by the way, is just the story. You have people in a tight space having to figure out a very delicate question with a man's life on the balance.
There's a heat wave too, and
there's a heat wave, and it's really great.
Great. Hey, second question. What did 12 Angry Men teach you about the judicial system?
A couple of things, at least. So one of the things is really beware of bias. Be careful that it does not poison you. And the way to do it, the way to check it, is to ask yourself questions, keep asking questions, ask others questions, as opposed to the rush of judgment, because you can always learn something. Just assume that you are wrong. Assume that you have bias and that it's poisoned you a little bit, and it'll help. And that's going to come into play later. And the next thing I learned, which is don't judge a jury. Be very careful about judging a jury on their judgment, because you don't know their experience. They might know something you do not. And they have such a tough job. No matter what you think, no matter what you've seen, it's difficult, and just try not to judge them.
Good. What is a notable court case that you find interesting?
So I thought I'd tackle the Casey Anthony. So I'm not sure if you remember, or if there's anything, maybe I'll review it real briefly, but Casey Anthony is the mother of Caylee Anthony, 2-year-old girl, I want to say 2008, 2009, who went missing and turned up 2 months later, dead in not too far from Casey Anthony's house. The scandal started, though, that in the first place, when Casey Anthony didn't even report the daughter missing. And she didn't even report. Weeks after she was missing, it was the grandmother that reported. And so this was not good, and it was very troubling, because she was found eventually not guilty.
What was the suspect found guilty? You said she was found guilty. I'm sorry, not guilty.
Not guilty.
Do you think the jury got it right, though?
Well, I mean, look at it. Look at this case. The woman, Casey Anthony, didn't report her daughter missing.
Yeah.
In the days that she was missing, she was partying with her friends. She got a tattoo in Italian that meant, it said life is beautiful, or the beautiful life. I think that said beautiful life. She looks pretty guilty, right? And so I always had a difficult time with this case. And in going back and looking at it and looking at the evidence, and I have some evidence here, a few pieces I'd like to bring out. Mm-hmm. I got to tell you, the jury got it right.
Wow. Okay. What's the most compelling piece of evidence in the case then? What got you thinking that?
Well, let's go to the first piece of evidence. There was a human hair found in the trunk of her car that had all the similarities of her daughter, Caylee. That's not good. The Pontiac Sunfire trunk, the trunk of her car, had evidence of chloroform. And that's a problem. There was also cyber evidence that she had searched the words chloroform and self-defense as proof of premeditation. Okay? So let's go over some of these things. First of all, I have to say that if you feel like somebody is guilty, all the feeling is toward that. Yeah. It just feels right. It doesn't make them guilty. Even if you feel it's true, the prosecution has to demonstrate that. Okay, right? And that's hard, though. That's hard, because when you look at this, first thing that I said was that Casey Anthony did not report her daughter missing for weeks. As bad as that is, as nasty as that is, that's not murder, right?
Yeah, no.
That's not murder.
Suspicious, but not murder.
Put a little asterisk on that, because at the time that was not a crime even. That was not even a crime to not report your child missing. But we'll go back to that.
Okay.
The hair found in her trunk as being her daughter's, no, that was not proven, and it not necessarily true. Listen to this. Chloroform found in her trunk. That was a big piece of the evidence that was
Mm-hmm.
part of the prosecution's team
Sure.
that they brought forth. The FBI said gases are consistent with decomposition. However, there is a primary compound, chemical compound called undercane, which is a primary compound found in human decomposition. It's the leftover when there's human decomposition,
Sure.
not found in the truck.
Oh.
Dr. Furton, an expert in these matters, disputed the idea that decomposition evidence was in the trunk at all. Next thing, the cyber evidence of chloroform and self-defense in the computer, not proven. In fact, at some point, there was thoughts that it was the grandmother who had looked those terms up at one point, if anybody. So
When you say if anybody, do you think that maybe somebody went in there and did that to kind of like mess the case there?
if that's what the whole case is resting on,
Hmm.
I would have gone along with the jury.
Wow.
It took them 10 hours. And I got to tell you, for the last 10 years, I thought they were crazy. Most of America did. I remember when she was voted like most hated person in America, and death threats. The jury deliberated for 10 hours. And I got to say, they made the right call. And it's just another example, though, of not coming to conclusions without looking at things carefully.
Right.
And oh, by the way, the undercane that was not present in the trunk in decomposition.
Yeah.
The prosecution just completely ignored that. They pretended it wasn't there.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And so back to by the way, this is a surprising thing. One of the surprising things of many of this case that Kaylee was not, it's very sad because there have been no arrests around the disappearance and murder.
Mm.
And since that time, there has come about a law called Kaylee's Law, where a parent or guardian must report when their child is missing. It's very obvious, but
Yeah.
they had to create a law for that.
But, I was going to ask you what was a surprising element in the case. I'm going to go back to that because I think that's surprising that a parent would not call the police. What was her answer to that? Or does it matter what her answer is to that, in your opinion?
Well, I'll tell you, it led to her arrest. That, and another big lie. She says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know my daughter was missing. I was working at Disney World, at my job at Disney World at the time. And I think she's with her nanny." Problem, she didn't work at Disney World. She hadn't in 2 years. Second problem, there was no nanny. What nanny? So they arrested her and she had to serve time. She served time for lying to law enforcement, misleading law enforcement, and I'm forgetting these misdemeanors that she had to serve time for. I think she got time served because I think she spent a lot of time in jail.
Okay.
So it was very, this week I was doing research on this case, and I was so troubled by it. I was so troubled by the fact that I found myself with the jury.
Yeah.
And it was weird because it was a change of heart for me that I had to go to another teacher and I say, let me ask you a scenario. If you really felt that somebody did it, like you said, they had to, all indication points at this person, but the prosecution does not bring the case. It's very flimsy. I asked her, would you vote guilty? And she says, no, not guilty. So I felt a little better. I needed that to get that off my chest.
I mean, I think you have to go back to the law. I guess you're right. I mean, even though it appears or looks or you feel, but there's no, if they didn't do the case, I mean, we have some protections under the Constitution, right? And so there you go. I mean, they had to prove the case and they didn't. So,
you know what? Yeah. And so there's my case, and
okay.
And I hope you enjoyed it.
No, thank you, Ruben. And so, yeah, there we go. this is a lesson that Ruben's actually in the process of doing with his class. And if you have any questions, I'm sure you go ahead and let us know in the comments so we could get to. And I know Ruben is going to be having some feedback from his kids this week as well. And so thank you for watching us tonight. Have a good night, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.